Thanks for staying tuned to your station, the African Independent Television, and welcome to your program, Security Watch Africa. Only on this channel and on this station, we give you that information you need to keep your life safe and secured. Welcome to the program today. Today, we'll be bringing you two very important reports that is quite informative and interesting. We'll be looking at the issue of traffic light disobedience. Going against the traffic and how it has caused so much havoc in our society with so many lives cut short and properties damaged. We'll be looking at that in a report, and also we will take you to Lafia, Nasarawa State, where the Nigerian Army hosted the second edition of the Nigerian Army Human Rights Summit. It was quite an interesting summit where there were lots of deliberations on the way to improve the human rights compliance of the Nigerian Army and the Nigerian military in general. Yeah, we'll be commencing with the report on traffic light compliance, or otherwise put together by Lucy Tao.
Traffic signals exist to control the flow of traffic in one way or the other, increase safety, manage traffic and travel time, and to provide direction for drivers. In some cases, motorists and commuters often go against the light for one reason or the other. Security Watch Africa crew, in an exclusive interview with the Corps Commander, F-60 Sector Command of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Cherry Mukhtar, seek to know the different traffic lights and the common traffic offenses.
These traffic junctions have been established, to separate traffic, to ensure that there's smooth driving, between vehicles coming at especially intersections. Of course, just like when we were in primary school, they used to tell us what these lights were. Red means stop, amber means get ready to go, and green means go. That is basically what these lights indicate. Even for pedestrians, on the lane where pedestrians are supposed to move, there are indicators also in certain of these traffic intersections, just to ensure that there's free movement for everybody. So the traffic mix is separated in those kind of junctions. I've also observed one other thing that people are not very aware of in FCT. There are certain traffic junctions where you go, you see a smaller traffic light that is flashing amber continuously. What that means is normally it goes to the right from the direction you are coming from. So it goes to the right. And the other traffic that's coming in from the opposite lane, since it's a twin, it's two lanes, you are expected to enter from both the other side and then the lane from the right. I can give you a typical example, especially when you're coming from Bega and coming to Zone 5. There's a traffic junction there. You see one that is continuously flashing amber. That means you can drive through red on the main road when you are going to the right. But some people will come and hang and wait for the bigger lights to show green first. You are not supposed to wait. You are expected to enter with the other lane. You just enter carefully. So that's what that means. So people needed not to be waiting, even when it's on red in the main lane that you are coming from.
The sector commander decried the level at which political office holders, motorists, especially dispatch riders, ignore the light signals and drive against the traffic, which does not speak well.
The common traffic offenses we have, especially around the FCT, though it's changing gradually, especially for motorists, for vehicles, for instance, is people beating traffic lights. Again, we are not everywhere at every point in time. This issue of dispatch riders, I think the FCT needed to review their engagement. They are really making the city traffic ungovernable. Just yesterday, a minister, I won't come on air and mention the minister's name. The minister knows himself. His convoy was driving against traffic around the NNPC mega filling station yesterday. I was driving from somewhere, and then I had cause to be warning his security details. So I incidentally know the protocol of that particular minister. I sent him a text message because I called, he was in a meeting. I said, your guy should be conscious of the way his details are carrying around. Because there's no VIP when it comes to issues of a crash. In fact, you are even creating more problem for us because it wasn't easy to pick you as a minister.
Mr. Mukhtar spoke on the punishment for traffic offenders.
Especially the ones driving against traffic, for instance, it's heavy fine of 50,000 naira. That is even, to me, well, it should be enough for anybody to have taken 50,000 naira from your pocket. That's a lot of money. And it's only meant to serve as deterrent so that next time I remember, okay, the government fined me this much amount because I did this kind of attitude.
Mr. Mukhtar appealed to motorists to obey simple road signs, avoid overloading, and the use of mobile phones while driving.
One other problem, is this one is terrible, the use of phone while driving. It's becoming a serious and very major problem for us. Yeah, communication has been eased, for us, application of technology has become easier, but then it has also brought with it its own monster. A lot of people don't have the discipline of avoiding picking their calls or even making one while driving. Some of them have even come to want to wriggle out of not trying to look for all sorts of excuses that because they are using Google Map. Okay, you are using Google Map, doesn't it distract you? There are ways you can use Google Map without you getting distracted.
It is a common sight in the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria to see motorists go against the traffic lights and drive even when the lights indicate red.
So I want, especially residents of Abuja, all eyes are on us because Abuja is supposed to be a model city. And so we can't create a model city with a chaotic traffic situation. So we, the traffic enforcers, are also doing everything within our power to ensure that at least we bring to book those people who will not listen. Very unpalatable, but we don't have a choice.
Safety on the road is a responsibility we all share. Stay alert, arrive alive. Lucy Tao, Security Watch Africa, Abuja.
Yeah, welcome back. Yes, drive safely and stay alive so you can arrive alive. That is a report from Lucy Taiwo. Yes, like I said earlier, we'll take you to Lafia, Nasarawa State for the Nigerian Army Human Rights Seminar, where Shuli Danes brings us the proceedings and what happened at that seminar. Sit back.
In the drive to make the Nigerian Army truly the People's Army, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, approved the convening of Nigerian Army Human Rights Seminar twice a year in all the geopolitical zones of the country. The maiden edition was hosted in September 2023 in Abuja. The second edition of the seminar, with the theme Expounding the Human Rights Narrative in Contemporary Times, Impact on National Security, which took place in Lafia, the Nasarawa State capital, this Thursday, had 2 lectures delivered by 2 well-qualified personalities with different discussants drawn from all relevant sectors. The seminar had in attendance government officials, traditional rulers, civil society groups, the media, and the general public. While welcoming the guests to the seminar, the Chief of Civil Military Affairs, Major General Nosakari Ubo, thanked the Chief of Army Staff for graciously approving the hosting of the seminar and gave information on what the seminar is meant to achieve.
I welcome you all to this seminar for the second edition of Nigerian Army Human Rights Seminar with the theme Expounding the Human Rights Narrative in Contemporary Times, Impact on National Security. Please feel free to express your candid views on the subject so that we shall produce takeaways that will help the Nigerian Army and the cause of human rights and the protection of civilians in conflict areas. I'm happy to inform you that the Chief of Army Staff has graciously approved that the Nigerian Army Seminar on Human Rights should hold twice yearly, one in the north part of the country and the other in the southern parts of the country.
Speaking further, the Chief of Civil Military Affairs spoke on how the deployment of Nigerian Army personnel for national security operations has gravitated to sprout issues relating to human rights.
The unprecedented deployment of the Nigerian Army troops for internal security operations has tended to bring up issues relating to human rights. In the northeast of Nigeria, the conflict has been recognized and classified as a non-international armed conflict situation. Hence, the Nigerian Army adoption of the international humanitarian law in that theater is consistent with acceptable standards.
Goodwill messages were delivered by the representative of UNICEF, representative of National Human Rights Commission, and the Commissioner of Women Affairs in Nasarawa State.
I'm extending my appreciation, first of all, for organizing today's important event and extending the greetings from our country director, Christian Mandate, and of course, Chief Ibrahim Sesse from Child Protection and the entire team together. This is a topic very close to our hearts, as our mission is to protect and promote the rights of children all over Nigeria. So human rights are very closely linked to that. So we are here to support the government, and we believe that it's essential to have good stakeholder collaboration, including with the Army.
We want to say that the seminar represents the strategic effort to reinforce constitutional role of Nigerian Army to promotion of and maintenance of national security. We applaud the efforts of the Nigerian Army and armed forces for continual deployment of kinetic strategies in all of their operations, which have sustained social, economic, and political objectives, hence winning the hearts and minds of Nigerians in what they are doing wonderfully for the whole nation.
On our part as a government, I assure you of the support and cooperation of the administration of His Excellency Engineer Abdullahi Sile, who remains committed to maintaining security of lives and property in the state through constant dialogue and interaction between security forces and civil society, and providing logistic support to enhance the activities.
In his remarks, the Chief of Army Staff, who was represented by the Commander, Special Forces Command, Doma, Nasarawa State, Major General Hilary Nzan, gave expectation on the seminar and information on what the Nigerian Army has been doing on issues of human rights.
The Nigerian Army has been at the receiving end of various accusations of human rights violations. It is therefore gratifying that today the Nigerian Army is organizing a seminar like this to sit with the human rights advocacy groups and international organizations dedicated to the noble cause of ensuring that the rights of persons are not violated under the guise of security and the maintenance of law and order.
He revealed that the Nigerian Army is committed in upholding the values of international humanitarian laws and international human rights laws, and have integrated child's rights and protection into its rules of engagement.
We informed this August gathering that Nigeria and the United Nations system in Nigeria, particularly the United Nations Children's Fund, signed the Hanover Protocol on the handling of children in conflict areas on 30th September 2022. Just last month, specifically on the 21st or 25th of January 2024, the Nigerian Army and the United Nations Children's Education Fund convened the signing of the implementation plan for this important protocol. As I noted during that event, the Nigerian Army is committed towards playing its role in ensuring that the Hanover Protocol for children in Northeast Nigeria is implemented. We are also committed to the upholding of the values of international humanitarian law and international human rights law, and have integrated child rights and protection into the details of our rules of engagement and codes of conduct across the various theaters.
The Chief of Army Staff thanked President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his support and strategic guidance to the Nigerian Army.
I want to thank and appreciate the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for his continuous support and strategic guidance to the Nigerian Army. I want to reassure the nation that the Nigerian Army under my watch shall remain apolitical and loyal to the President, Commander-in-Chief, and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
While declaring the seminar open, the special guest of honor, who is the Chief Judge of Nasarawa State and Chairperson of Nasarawa State Judiciary Council, Justice Aisha Bashir Aliyu, commended the Nigerian Army for organizing the seminar and gave the way forward for compliance of human rights.
I most sincerely want to thank the Nigerian Army for the privilege to grace the occasion as a special guest of honor. In the past, security agencies appeared to give no heed whatsoever to the rights of ordinary Nigerians. Sometimes it is alleged that they seem to take delight in violating the rights of ordinary Nigerians for no unwarranted reason. It was a norm at one time for my brothers in khaki to go about the hospital, locally known as Koboko, for the sole purposes of flogging civilians who may have hurt them in whatsoever manner. Other violations, including threats to life, were not uncommon. The great question to ask as we are gathered here today is whether the Nigerian Army and indeed other security agencies have drawn up their previous ways of violating the rights of Nigerians at will. Judging by the array of rights advocacy groups and civil society organizations gathered here in Lafayette to rub mind to the Nigerian Army on the issue of human rights, it is safe to conclude without contradiction that the Nigerian Army, or at least its leadership, is determined to charter a new path of upholding the human rights of Nigerians while performing its duties.
The first lecture was delivered by Major General Samuel Udonwa, retired, who spoke on his experiences in the Nigerian Army in relation with implementation on international laws on human rights.
The military as an organization has what we call force structure. It has the minimum number of people you can deploy, and that is called a section of 10 men with a defined commander and a second in command like that. But today you can see two people operating together. So it degrades command and control, it degrades accountability. It is possible that one of those two could commit an offense and the other one would cover him up. But it is more difficult to cover up somebody when 10 people are there watching what is happening. So there are some institutional drawbacks too. Culture, our operating environment too, has a permissive culture. What do I mean by that? Some things that will be abnormal in certain societies outside this country are actually very normal here because our culture is so relaxed and permissive about that. I was reading something on social media how a colleague, a female, just tapped the back of a fellow worker in the UK and she was investigated for sexual harassment. Here, a woman tapping around a woman's back is nothing, right? Yeah, so the culture here is permissive. And another angle to the culture issue is the historical culture of the military. How did the Nigerian Army start? It started as a colonial force that was used for local expeditions. Anytime British companies wanted to trade with some kingdoms and there was opposition, Glover would send his people to go and fight and make sure that the British were able to trade with those Nigerian kingdoms. So how much has the army changed in character from that history of being used to suppress the people? It's something we need to do, and we need to keep thinking about how to change that historical culture from being a colonial army where the people were being suppressed to being an army of the people that is actually protecting the Nigerian people.
The second lecture was delivered by Professor Nana Tanko of Victim Support Fund. Professor Tanko commended the Nigerian Army for ensuring that human rights laws are upheld in their operations and call for room for improvement while engaging in conflict management.
The international humanitarian law is binding on all parties that are in that armed conflict, while the international humanitarian law is binding on governments, because it's their responsibility to ensure that the relationship are sustained. Now, some of you may be beginning to ask, so what has it got to do with us? Now, I want you to realize that, like you heard earlier on, that the military's role in terms of maintaining security is a representation of a state role. So the military is a state agency that is meant to sustain and maintain national security. So in a lot of the time, in terms of the enforcement and the application, wherever you see state, is actually being done through the military and other armed forces that we have in the country. And that is why it becomes very important that they are familiar with the content of these international laws.
Discussants on the two lectures gave their views on what should be done to improve human rights policies in the Nigerian army.
The danger is not in how much presence the military has, or the military have on the social media, but how contents inimical to national interests are being circulated. This is the worry. Very often we just see a piece of information, 10 people killed in Umuahia, all of them from a certain part of the country. And then people just start forwarding them without verifying. And sometimes these things don't even happen in Nigeria. So people who spread such misleading and false information to ignite hatred must be held to account. This is the regulation we are talking about. We are saying that when you forward something that is not correct, just to inflame passions and to cause anarchy, then you are liable to be held accountable.
The military needs to have a system in place, which has already started, where they are able to monitor some of these human rights violations. Something like civilian casualty monitoring system or civilian casualty tracking system in the field. So when you have such civilian casualty tracking systems, you're able to know from some of these locations where violations against the rights of civilians have occurred, how many, what type, and what kinds of people have been involved in such violations. And you keep them in record, so that this record is known both by the communities involved and by the military. So when there are such press releases, the military can quickly come up and defend itself.
After the various lectures were delivered, the representatives of the Chief of Army Staff and the Chief of Civil Military Affairs made presentations of souvenirs to dignitaries at the seminar. The program was anchored by Security Watch Africa. Julie Daniels, reporting for Security Watch Africa.
Welcome back. That was the proceeding of the Nigerian Human Rights seminar that took place in Lafia, Nasarawa State. Unfortunately, we won't be able to talk much about it. And I believe you are going through the security tips that is scrolling on the screen, so you can imbibe some of those advice that have been provided for you, so you keep your life safe and secure. And also the information that at 11:30 p.m. today, you will watch a repeat edition of this program. In case you are unable to watch this watch it live. You can also follow us on our social media platform. It's on YouTube and Facebook is streaming live. And send your views and your comment on Twitter so that we can respond back to you. It's been a pleasure bringing this to you. Until next week, when we'll bring you another exciting edition. I say thanks for staying tuned and bye for now.